I'm going to show you guys today how to create an edition of prints. We're going to talk about printmaking. This is just the process of taking or transferring an image from one prepared surface to another. It includes 3 steps. You're going to create the plate, you're going to ink the plate, and then you're going to transfer the image. The type of printmaking we're doing today is called relief printing, which is cutting away sections of the surface that are not meant to hold the ink. And we're going to use sugar skulls as our subject because we're going to incorporate them into our Hispanic heritage lesson. So what we're going to start with today is simply you're going to create your image, and you're going to start with a template that looks like this. You can either use this template directly, or if you'd like to have a little bit more creative control, you can trace around that, and then you could change the outline of the skull and so on. Or you can go directly onto your template. We're going to divide this up exactly in half. It's going to be, most of the sugar skulls you see have this beautiful balance. It's called symmetrical. It's exactly the same on both sides. And so what you're going to do, if you'd like to, is that you can fold your skull exactly in half, hold it up to the light and fold it in half. If you draw on one side, remember to leave some space for the eye. You don't want to put it right up next to the center line. You have to move it away. And you can trace your designs here, and then you could go over to a window or a light table and you can flip it over, and you will have an identical drawing on the other side. Now I added a flourish, I added a rose up here because I like that, and you're allowed to do that. I just won't trace those lines that are up here on my skull. When you get your design completely ready in pencil, you're going to get a piece of styrofoam that I've cut, and this styrofoam was from a styrofoam plate. You can use meat trays from your house. That would be great. Anything like that works, and we like to recycle, so that's a good way to get it. To-go containers, things like that work great. And you're going to transfer your image. You're going to tape it to your plate, and you're going to make sure that it fits and nothing runs off the back, and you're going to tape it on so it doesn't move around. You do not want this to move around. And we have found that if you get a pad like a newspaper or something like that, it has a little bit of give to it. And then you're going to trace around your design with a ballpoint pen. Okay, that works the best. And then you can see where you've been and where you haven't. If your paper tears a little bit, it's okay, but try not to tear it too much or it'll fall apart before you get finished. And you're going to see I'm running over these lines a couple of times. Go into it. You don't want to poke holes in your styrofoam either, but if you do, just be aware. If you do it too often, it will fall apart. So there's a feel to it. Just keep running around, and what you're doing is you're indenting. See how I'm running over that line? I'm not going to draw that line. You are indenting that styrofoam, and it's hard to see, but you can see a little bit where it is. That is wonderful. That's what it should look like. But this is not your last step. What you're going to need to do when you get done, take the tape off, is you're going to have to go and roll over all of that again with your pen. And it needs to be a ballpoint pen, because if you don't use a ballpoint pen, it might come up on your print, and you don't want that to happen. And then you should be able to run your finger across it and see that you can feel it. Okay, these down here I can barely see because I haven't gone over them, so you will have to use your paper as a reference if you can't quite tell what it is. And I'm going over it like this, so I will end up with one. See if I can find it, and I've already done this one, but we'll look at it. I've printed it already, and it really has some nice indentions. Okay, then what you're going to do once you get that done, this is a really cool process. This is what we would call a monoprint, because you're going to take your colors, these markers, you're going to work from lightest to darkest, and you see I've already done one, and then you're just going to go over your lines that you've made, and you're going to color them, and I'm going to go to my lightest valued colors, to my darkest value colors, and put them all around. If you miss one, go back to the yellow. But you don't want to pull up color on your yellow. You wouldn't want to have a dark purple or a blue, because it'll pull up in there and then it really messes up your markers, and so you don't want to do that. So you're going to work from darkest to lightest and fill these in. Any details that you put in here will show up. All these lines that went down are going to show up. So I've done this one a couple of times. Like I said, every time you print it, you have to put more ink on it. This is water-soluble ink in these markers. So we have a little trick to make them come off on our paper nice and bright. And the second time you do it, you have to be a little more careful because you might miss places. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow up here in this green, and then after I get done with that, then I will put my green on top because it is a lighter value. You can actually like blend these colors in here like that. It's pretty cool. It's really nice. So I had some purple around the teeth. If you want your teeth to have like a black outline, and you may have some thinner Sharpie or thinner Crayolas, that would be fine. You just kind of outline the edges of those teeth, follow those grooves that you've made, and then when you print, your teeth will print white with the outlines around them. And then I do believe we have a gray in this set. And I'm just going to go around my skull just a little bit, give it some shadow real quickly. You guys take more time on yours. Okay, real quickly like this. And we'll see. I think I missed my here, and I do believe I missed the nose, so let's make sure that's important. And then I'm just going to go around the edges. I put some little details in the edges because I think it's nice when you print them off. Okay. Something like that. If you wanted to blend in a analogous color, maybe a pretty purple in there, that would be great. You just got to pay attention to that you don't add complementary colors that are opposite on the color wheel, or you'll end up with brown. And our sugar skulls are going to be so nice and bright and pretty. We're not going to put brown on there. Okay. Right, so we have something that looks like this. Now we're ready to print this. Remove that away. We're going to get our paper, and you should have some water and a sponge on your printing station. And what you're going to do is put this to the side. Make sure your fingers don't have like color on them, so that might come off. So I want to make sure that I have something to wipe that off with, or it's going to like come off on my paper, see? So you want to be careful. Be nice and neat. You're going to take your sponge and wring it out over water, and you're going to like paint it with your sponge, this back across, go down this way, and make it wet, but not where there is not soaking wet, not where there's bubbles of water on it. And if it doesn't work the first time you do this, try it again. I feel like mine's still a little bit too dry. If you don't get enough water, you'll get a dry print and it's not as vibrant and pretty. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to move this to the side. You have to work pretty quickly. We have found that if you take your print and just put it on the table like that, you can put your wet, make sure it's the wet side, put it on top like this. And then you just want to make sure you're holding your plate down, that you're not, you can't move. You don't want it to move around on you, because then you'll get a blurred image, and you don't want that. And you can kind of feel it when you go over it with your finger. Hold it in place. Go over with your finger. Really let it pull that ink from your plate. Okay, and then when you pull, you can check it. Don't pull it all the way off. You can check it. Oh man, she's looking pretty good. Okay, I think I got most of what I needed to get, and that's what it looks like from your plate. Just beautiful. Okay, so I'd like you to try this a couple of times. You can wash this off with a wet paper towel if you want to, and you could put different colors on here if you'd like. And then when you get done with this one, I'd like you to make another one using your just a regular brayer and ink process, and it will be black. We have black ink. You can print these using different colors, but since we already have color on this one, we are going to just use the black ink. So here is, you can use a paper plate for this or a styrofoam plate for this. You can use, I just happen to have these pads which work really nicely. And you see I'm just going to dip up with my popsicle stick. Just get one little dip. You don't need a whole lot. More is not better. Okay? Then we have this rolly thingy, everybody wants to call it. It's called a brayer. B-R-A-Y-E-R. And you're going to take the ink and you're going to spread it around with the brayer, and you're going to move it back and forth. I'm not going all the way to the edge of this surface. I don't need to. It should be thin. You see a nice thin layer of ink. Don't be gloppy, because that sinks into the lines of your plate and then you will not get the print that you want. So once I get my ink at the consistency that I like it, I'm going to roll it over my plate. If I need to, I can pick up more ink over here and roll it in the opposite direction. You want to have some paper or newspaper or scrap piece underneath your plate so that you don't get it all over your table and you can throw it away later. Then you're going to take a piece of paper, and you want to make sure that I'm going to put another piece of paper under mine so that I don't make too big of a mess. Let's put a piece of paper under there. Put your plate down. This one you don't have to work quite as quickly. And put your paper on top. That's a color, but this will work. Put your paper on top. Press it down. And then if you have a popsicle stick, if you don't, you can use your fingers. You can use the back of a spoon, which is really nice. And you're going to burnish your print. And you're going to smooth all around the edges. Okay? And then make sure you can check it. Let's check it before we pull it off. Oh, that's not bad. And you can see that when we pull it, that's what that looks like. So it's a different way to print using the same plate, which is really nice. I would stay away from using letters or numbers because they will transfer backwards, so you need to be aware that that will happen. If you just have to absolutely have a number in your image, you need to let me know before you transfer it to the plate so I can help you do it correctly. When you are completely done, there is a way to number these prints. So I said I want you to have 3. So I'm just going to say that all 3 of these are from the same. I do have 3. I have 3 off the same plate. So if this one was my first print, I'm just going to mark them when I print them. 1, 2, 3. And then when it's time to turn in your addition, you're going to, in pencil, you're going to put the title right here. So the title. You can name your sugar skull if you want to. That would be great. If this is the first one in my edition, it's a series of prints made off the same plate. That's what this is. I will put a 1/3, and then I'm going to put my signature right here. And it needs to go within the boundaries of that image, and it always, always, always in pencil. So I would continue to do that. This one would be my title, 2/3, because that's the total number of prints I made, and my signature, and then my last one would be, 3/3. Okay? And so that's what we're going to be doing for the next couple of days. Enjoy. Please ask any questions if you need to do so.